Hey kids, it's Mr. Mason, and we're back again with another lesson from our Bibles. If you remember from last week, we talked about how Jesus calmed the storm. All of these disciples and Jesus were on the boat, and it was a huge storm going on, bigger than they had ever seen in their lives. They were terrified that this was going to be the end for them. But Jesus just stood up and said, "Peace, be still." And everything, the ocean, the storm, everything just calmed straight down. And he had control to do that. Well, today we're going to talk about another miracle that Jesus did, and that's feeding a whole big group of people. So let's go ahead and jump into our story. Jesus' disciples had been hard at work. They had been healing people and teaching them. So many people came and went that the disciples did not even have time to eat. So Jesus told them, "Come with me, let's go to a place where we can sit alone and get some rest." Jesus and his disciples got into a boat to cross the Sea of Galilee, but many people saw them leaving. The people traveled by foot, and they ran ahead of Jesus. And when Jesus finally got to where he was going, the people were already waiting there for him. Jesus saw the big crowd of people, and he cared about them because they were like sheep who needed a shepherd. So Jesus taught the people about many things, about God's kingdom, and he healed many people who were sick. By this time, it was late in the day. Jesus' disciples came up to him and said, "We are out in the middle of nowhere, and it's getting late. Tell the people to go away so that they can go to farms and villages and buy themselves something to eat." But Jesus didn't think about that. Jesus told them, "No, don't send them away to go get something to eat. Let's just feed them here." Now, how are you going to feed a huge group of people? If some huge crowd just showed up at your door, would you have enough food to feed them? Would you have just that little pantry of yours have enough food to feed a giant group of people? No, I know I wouldn't. Now, they didn't have any food. The disciples didn't. So how are they going to feed these people? Well, a boy walked up, and he was willing to offer his little bit of food to Jesus so that at least they could eat. And all he had to give them were just 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And the disciples were like, "Well, what are we going to do with this? This isn't enough food to feed all these people." But Jesus told the disciples to tell everybody to sit down. And so everybody in the whole group of people, and this was about 5 to 10,000 people, so it's a lot of people. And so everybody sat down into their little families and groups of people that they knew. And then Jesus took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and he looked up to heaven, and he blessed the bread and the fish. And he broke it into pieces and gave it to the disciples. He also divided up the fish. The disciples passed out the food to the people, and they all ate until they were full. So he divided up this food, and he kept dividing it and spreading it out and giving it to this guy and then that guy, and it just kept going, and it never ran out. And in the end, every single person out of the 5 to 10,000 people were full. And they still had food left over, a whole 12 baskets full of bread and fish. Jesus fed about 5,000 men that day, plus all the women and children. He provided for all of these people out of just 5 loaves and 2 fish. Now, if Jesus can do that from just a small amount of food, don't you think he's going to provide for us? And if he can, then obviously he's going to when we need him to. When we're in real need and we can't take care of ourselves, we can look to Jesus because he's going to provide that need for us. So let's go over our big picture question and our memory verse for this week. Our big picture question is, why did Jesus perform miracles? We saw a lot of miracles in the Bible that Jesus performed. He healed a man who couldn't walk. He healed several people of a skin disease. He fed 5,000 people. He calmed the storm, and so many others that we haven't talked about. But why did Jesus perform all of these miracles? Why did he do these crazy things that no one else could do? Well, there are 3 reasons, and let's go over them now. Number 1 is Jesus performed miracles to glorify God. He also performed miracles to show he is the Son of God. And lastly, he performed miracles to care for people. In all 3 of these, he's showing that he is God and he is the Son of God, and that he cares for us and that he takes care of us when we need him to. And our memory verse for this week is going to be Psalm 40, verse 5. "Lord my God, you have done many things. Your wondrous works and your plans for us. None can compare with you. If I were to report and speak of them, they are more than can be told. So even all of these things in the Bible might not be all of the miracles that Jesus did. We see plenty of things throughout the New Testament about Jesus' life and all the miracles that he did. But this verse is saying that if we were to go back and tell them all, we wouldn't be able to count all of the times he's helped us and he's saved us. And he's helping us even today, even though it doesn't always look like it, or it looks a little bit different than it did back then. Maybe he does it in different ways. Maybe he just performs miracles through doctors and other people that help us to get better, help us to survive. Jesus still helps us through miracles today. They just look a little bit different than they did back then. They don't quite look like magic like they do in the Bible. And they're not really magic in the Bible. Again, that's just God's power showing it through all these other different means and different ways that he can do things. And we saw in our story today that Jesus provided for those 5,000 people. And even better than that, he doesn't just provide for our hunger and our thirst. He also provides for us spiritually. He provides so that we can have a way to communicate with him and to have hope in life and have hope that he will protect us and keep us safe and guide us through our lives and where we need to go. So let's go ahead and pray, and then that will be the end. And let's remember to focus that on why Jesus performed these miracles. He performed them to show that he is God, and he is the Son of God, and that he cares for people. So let's go ahead and pray. God, thank you for this beautiful day that you've given us, and thank you for giving us all these lessons to learn and these stories to tell and see how you are great and powerful and how you take care of us and how you love us and how you show that you are the Son of God and that you will one day save us not only from our hunger and our thirst, but also from our sin and all of the ugly and bad things that we've done in our lives. And God, help us to continue to live for you and live the way you want us to, and show us what that means for us. In your name I pray. Amen. Thanks, kids, and we'll see you next time.